In the past week, 2 different Minecraft speedrunners have had runs that have pushed the boundaries of the game. One that successfully beat the world record, and one that was a near miss at an even faster time. With the previous record standing for over 7 months, that's pretty unlikely, but what's even crazier is that these 2 runs didn't even use the same meta. The runs happened in what is currently Minecraft speedrunning's most exciting category, 1.15. And in this video, I'm going to show you just how these runs were pulled off, and why this category has many more world records coming in the near future. These runs take mechanical skill, mental agility, and above all, dedication. And in this video, I'm going to break down how for one runner, it all came together, and how for another, it all fell apart. So sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the greatest runs by the greatest runners in Minecraft 1.15 speedrunning. This is Ontricus's 1347 and Connor's 1405. In Minecraft version 1.15, to beat the game, runners need to get ender pearls by trading with villagers and get blaze rods by killing blazes in nether fortresses. They can craft these into eyes of ender, which will point towards the stronghold when thrown and can be used to fill the end portal and enter the end, where they'll kill the dragon. Acquiring blaze rods is fairly straightforward and looks the same as any other version of the game, but what makes 1.15 special is the villager trading. To get ender pearls, runners need to do business with a cleric, and the price for ender pearls is steep, 4 emeralds to a pearl. That's not all though. To offer the ender pearl trade in the first place, the cleric needs to be leveled up twice, which requires an additional 10 emeralds and 60 gold ingots, if the runner uses the most efficient trades. This meta is called Insomniac strats, and it's both the most viable meta for the world record and the one with the fastest theoretical limit. You'll see it in more detail later, but the gist of it is this. Before going to a village and trading, runners need to get 34 emeralds and 60 gold ingots in order to get all their ender pearls. If only they were that dedicated to getting bling in real life. No, you know what? This is probably way cooler. So with that basic rundown in mind, let's get into the story of Ontricus's world record. Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Dansby Swanson, Ontricus. Some people throughout history have had something special, something that leads them to dominate the competition so well that their name is synonymous with greatness. And for 1.15 speedrunning, Ontricus is that person. I could spend a long time explaining why he's him, but instead I'll let him show it. On June 21st, 2023, Ontricus sat down to continue his grind to beat his own world record of 13 minutes, 56 seconds, the first sub 14 in the category's history. You might be wondering what that number in the top left is, you know, the one with 7 digits. In fact, that's the number of times Ontricus has loaded up a world in 1.15 to speedrun it, and as he enters his 1,129,687th world, something special is about to happen. Ontricus is resetting for an ocean spawn, since to get the 34 emeralds he needs, as well as tools to start the run, he'll need shipwrecks and/or buried treasure. On top of that, the only way to get 60 gold in a speedrun is to loot an ocean monument, so resetting for an ocean is 100% necessary. Ontricus enters the world to find a shipwreck right next to the beach, and while it has mid-loot with just 5 iron and 3 emeralds, it's all Ontricus needs to start the run. As he heads back to the island, Ontricus sees more good news, an ocean monument immediately nearby. As long as he's able to find a village quickly, this is a perfect starter seed for 1.15. Ontricus's mechanics are on display as he crafts the tools and supplies he'll need for the run, and he's headed towards the ocean monument just 60 seconds in. It's not the fastest start, as he could have gotten more iron to save time making tools, but the proximity of the ocean monument means he's actually off to a better start than he was in his 1356 former world record that he set 6 months and 700,000 resets ago. To avoid getting the mining fatigue curse that comes from proximity to the Elder Guardian, Ontricus turns his render distance all the way down, then digs into the hidden gold room in the monument and grabs the 8 gold blocks. He squeaks on out of the monument, having successfully pulled off his heist, already on a pace about 40 seconds faster than in his former world record. Now, he'll traverse the ocean and look for a coastal village. But on the way, he stops at another shipwreck, picking up a very welcome 8 more emeralds. Still, he's only at 11 out of the 34 emeralds he needs. Runners pretty much never get those 34 emeralds before arriving at the village. They get however many they can, then get the rest through one of 2 methods. If the village has a lot of hay bales, they can mine those and trade wheat to a farmer villager. If not, they can mine the wood from houses and craft it into sticks, which they can trade with a Fletcher villager. About a minute later, after some help from a dolphin friend, Ontricus arrives at the coast of a savanna, and since savanna villages don't tend to have much hay, he breaks some gravel, which he can use later to craft a Fletcher's table. In a more optimal run, Ontricus would have found buried treasure, which usually contains some TNT, which could be used to quickly blow up the acacia houses and gather wood instantly. As it stands, Ontricus can use his extra gold he's not going to trade to make gold axes, and dig through the houses pretty quickly. He grabs beds for the dragon fight as he goes, and 3 houses and 45 seconds later, he turns the nearest villager into a Fletcher and turns all that wood into 15 more emeralds. After hitting 1 more house, he has enough to reach his goal of 34 emeralds, and 5.5 minutes in, he's ready to start trading his way up to some ender pearls. Due to the time it took him to reach the village, he's basically on identical pace with his former world record at this point. From across the village, he spots the cleric's house, where he'll go grab the brewing stand he needs to turn a villager into a cleric. As he trades with the villager, he'll be balancing 2 stats that will have the villager offer him its best prices: reputation and demand. Once he trades with a single villager 10 times, his reputation will increase, and the villager will offer him discounted prices, which is perfect because he has to trade for redstone 10 times to level a cleric up. You can see that once the level 2 gold trade is unlocked, the villager offers Ontricus an emerald for 2 gold instead of 3. Demand works in the opposite direction. If a player trades for a certain item enough times with a villager, when the villager restocks, it will increase the price of that item. In some cases, players will manipulate this by completing one less than a specific amount of trades in order to extend the villager's discount, but Ontricus has enough gold that he doesn't need to. After trapping the cleric in a boat by its workstation so that it'll restock faster, he completes his second set of gold trades, this time at the price of 3 gold per emerald. Ontricus now has 48 emeralds, enough to buy 12 ender pearls, which is the most he might need to fill in the end portal, if none of his Eyes of Ender break later on. Of course, he could still get 1/3. Easily the most frustrating part of 1.15 speedrunning is that when a cleric levels up from level 2 to 3, there's a 2 in 3 chance that they will offer an ender pearl trade, but there's a 1 in 3 chance that they will offer glass bottles. So far, no one has figured out how to beat the game with glass bottles, so 1 in 3 world record pace speedruns, and speedruns of any kind on 1.15 end at this exact point in the run. But of course, this isn't one of those runs. Ontricus buys his 12 ender pearls and is ready to leave the village, looting one last house for a bed and a second bucket, which will come in handy when setting up the 1 cycle. He's out of the village at 6:30, about 15 seconds slower than his former world record. The next step is to go to the nether, and in that run, Ontricus found a lava pool right next to the village that he used to make a nether portal. In this run, Ontricus will head out to the ocean, hoping to find a magma ravine he can use for the same purpose. And immediately, he does. In fact, he's so fast with his nether portal that he enters the nether just 3 seconds behind his former world record. He's been neck and neck with his old record throughout the entire run, but what happens next gives him a big advantage. In his old run, he had to use the pie chart and render distance manipulation to find and get to a nether fortress, which ate up an entire minute. This time, he spawns right on top of it. It takes him a while to get to a blaze spawner, but once he does, he gets right to work. He needs 6 blaze rods, as each rod is crafted into 2 blaze powder, and an Eye of Ender takes 1 blaze powder. The first 3 blazes that spawn yield 2 blaze rods, which have a 50% chance of dropping for each killed blaze. As he waits for the next set to spawn, he digs out the area around the blaze spawner, which lets more blazes spawn on average. He could have done this faster by detonating one of his beds, like he did in his old record, but with a slightly better pace, Ontricus decides to play it safe and save all of his beds for the end fight, which can be tricky in 1.15. 2 blazes spawn in the next round with 1 rod dropping. He gets 2 more rods from the next 3 blazes and survives a fire mishap, but he still needs 1 more. An optimal run would get all the necessary blaze rods in just 2 or 3 rounds of blazes spawning, but his old record took 5 rounds to get the rods, so Ontricus isn't losing time here. And sure enough, the next blaze he kills gives him his 6th rod, and he books it. With his nether portal right nearby, Ontricus can save all his ender pearls, and he's on great pace to not do that. After almost unaliving himself on world record pace, Ontricus has to use one of his ender pearls to get back to his portal, and hope that the end portal has at least 1 eye filled in, which has a 71.8% chance of being true. He's back into the overworld at 9 minutes and 40 seconds, a whole 55 seconds ahead of his former world record, and thus on world record pace by a margin of 55 seconds. In other words, the pressure is on. Ontricus takes a moment in his portal to collect himself, then swims towards the surface, where he'll try to triangulate the stronghold. By recording his exact coordinates and angle of watching the eye fly and entering it into a calculator created by a speedrunner called Ninja Brain, Ontricus can find exact coordinates for where the nearest stronghold is, and the probability of each set of chords being correct. By throwing a second eye from a different location, you can usually get coordinates with 100% certainty, but each time you throw an eye, it has a 20% chance of breaking. In most scenarios, with the calculator only giving 45% confidence, like it does for Ontricus, the runner would just throw a second eye. But Ontricus, who's already sitting on 11 ender pearls instead of 12, knows that because he's in the ocean, he can just follow the path of the eye and be pretty likely to see the stronghold protruding from the ocean floor. That's exactly what he sets out to do, but after a minute and 20 seconds of boating, he reaches the shore with no stronghold in his sight. So, he throws a second eye, and right on cue, he gets the location of the stronghold with 100% confidence. And the location is right in front of him. So, at 11:35, he's digging down towards the stronghold. But he lost a lot of time looking for the stronghold, compared to his former world record where he found the stronghold in the ocean and was in the end portal room at 12:15. So basically, Ontricus has to find the portal room within 40 seconds of starting to dig down in order to stay on world record pace. That's a tall task. He breaks into the stronghold at 11:55 and immediately uses the pie chart to scan the nearby block entities and find the silverfish spawner that only generates in the end portal room. And after fighting through a couple of creepers and finding an ender pearl in a chest, he reaches the portal room at 12:15. On the last leg of the run, Ontricus is on basically identical pace to the world record he's trying to beat. It doesn't get much closer than this. Ontricus crafts his remaining Eyes of Ender a little more quickly in this run, and manages to enter the end with a 5-second lead. On world number 1,129,687, Ontricus has made it to the end just fast enough that he's got a chance to set a new world record. The only thing still standing in his way is the dragon. He digs out of his hole and uses his ender pearl to get to the fountain in the middle of the island, where he uses his bucket of lava and water to place a piece of obsidian. This is going to allow him to one-cycle the dragon, which is when the dragon periodically perches on the fountain in the middle of the island and the player blows up beds as the dragon descends, killing it in one fell swoop. The problem with this is that when the dragon perches is almost entirely up to luck. Ontricus knows he can kill the dragon, but he has to pray to the Minecraft gods that he gets the chance to before time is up. And with the time of 1356 looming large in Ontricus's mind, the dragon circles the island, taunting him. But right here, Ontricus, who's watched the dragon fly around the island more times than most people have even opened a video game, sees something. He sees that with just enough time left, the dragon is going to do the one thing Ontricus needs it to do, and perch. And with a level of pressure most people never feel, but that Ontricus has felt plenty of times before, he finishes the job. 13 minutes 47 seconds. The second ever sub 14. Something that no one else has ever done. Ontricus can finally rest, but that doesn't mean everyone else will. And just 4 days later, on June 25th, Connor pulled off a run that 90% of the way through was even faster. In fact, it wasn't even close. Let's look at how it happened. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that this run uses a different meta than Ontricus's, which is true. Ontricus used the Insomniac meta, and Connor uses the similar Hostage Insomniac meta. But that was never the plan. When the run started, Connor was intending to play the Doubleday meta, which is a meta that isn't quite viable for world records anymore, but is much more consistent and easier to learn for runners who aren't going for the world record. I won't go into too much depth, but basically, Doubleday runs are where the player spawns in a coastal village, takes a villager hostage, and collects materials and goes to the Nether while traveling through the ocean with the hostage. They complete some trades on the first day of the run, then sleep as soon as possible and trade for the rest of their ender pearls on day 2. So, as he flips through worlds, Connor is looking for a coastal village. You'll notice that he only has 3 instances of Minecraft going, compared to Ontricus's 8. That's class disparity on display for you right there. Connor loads into the coastal village and immediately starts mining all the hay he can find. That's because in Doubleday runs, players can get 16 emeralds right off the bat by maxing out a farmer villager's wheat trade. Connor realizes quickly that there are no brewing stands in the village since there are no temples. This means that he can't get a cleric villager until after he goes to the Nether and gets his blaze rods, which are required to craft a brewing stand. So, Connor goes through the motions of making tools, gathering beds, and trading his wheat for emeralds. And then it's time to grab a hostage and leave the village. To do this, he needs to get a villager in a boat and push the boat into the ocean. And in a stroke of luck, there's a stray villager waiting in the perfect spot, right by the water. So at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, Connor is heading into the ocean, where he's looking to find 8 more emeralds from shipwrecks, plus an ocean monument for gold. But after a little over a minute of boating, what he actually spots is another village. This is a game changer, because if he has everything he needs by the time he reaches the village, he can just do an Insomniac run. Of course, it's a little different than Ontricus's run, because Ontricus didn't resort to kidnapping someone, stealing them from their family, and holding them hostage until they forked over the ender pearls. Details. If he's going to switch to Insomniac mid-run, Connor is going to need to get some more emeralds. 16 if he wants to get 12 ender pearls, from either the ocean, the village, or both. As for the ocean monument, one conveniently sits right in between him and the village. He hits one shipwreck on the way to the monument and gets an excellent 9 emeralds. The average in a shipwreck chest is 3.6. Then he hits another and gets 8 more. So all of a sudden, he's got all of the emeralds he's gonna need to do Insomniac strats, and he's about to have all the gold too. This type of run is extremely rare. Not only did he need to spawn in a village, not only did he need to find all these structures and get lucky with the loot, but he also needed to find a second village very soon after leaving the first one. When all is said and done, he reaches the village at 5:40, where he immediately grabs the brewing stand from the temple and turns his hostage into a cleric. 40 seconds later, he's got his ender pearls and is leaving the village, suddenly 10 seconds ahead of the pace of Ontricus's world record run. While this kind of pace was business as usual for Ontricus, it's anything but for Connor, who set a personal best of 15 minutes and 25 seconds over a year ago. Suddenly, he's on pace for a sub 14. Next, Connor will make sure he's inside the ring where strongholds generate, and keep looking for a magma ravine to travel to the Nether. He finds one, and after getting faked out twice, builds his Nether portal and is into the Nether at 7:48. He loads in and immediately finds a Nether fortress, and after searching for about 20 seconds, reaches a blaze spawner. After killing 2 blazes, Connor starts digging out the area around the blaze spawner with gold pickaxes. He could have potentially saved time here by grabbing an extra bed from the second village and using the bed to blow up the area around the spawner, which would have been faster than digging it out. Luckily though, he gets all 6 rods after 2 more spawn cycles, meaning it wouldn't have made a difference. He rushes back to his portal and gets out of the Nether at 9:53, just 15 seconds later than Ontricus. He crafts his Eyes of Ender and throws one, and unlike Ontricus, he won't use a calculator to find the stronghold, instead just following the eye's path blindly through the ocean, and almost immediately, he sees it. Part of it is broken up by a ravine, which is actually a good thing. More of the rooms are visible from above. However, the portal room isn't exposed, and we can't forget the importance of actually finding the portal room. Connor gets into the stronghold at 10:49, over a minute faster than Ontricus's world record. In other words, this is an absolutely insane pace. Unfortunately, this is also where it all falls apart. According to Connor, he can't do the strategy that Ontricus used to find the direction of the portal room because it doesn't work consistently on his computer. So he's left with old-fashioned stronghold navigation, which has a science to it, but is also dependent on luck. And unlike pretty much every other aspect of this run, luck fails Connor here. The stronghold is nasty, presenting him with dead end after dead end, as his window of opportunity to beat Ontricus narrows and narrows and eventually closes. And even worse, the window could have stayed open if not for a tiny mistake by Connor. He comes to the portion of the stronghold opened up by the ravine at 11:15 and gives it a quick look before picking a direction to follow. If he had switched into third person for just a moment, he would have been able to see the portal room jutting out below the level he's on. But sadly, he doesn't. And a minute and 45 seconds later, he returns to the ravine and spots it. Thanks to finding 2 extra ender pearls in stronghold chests, he's able to pearl into the portal room and finally get into the end at 13:09. He's no longer able to set the world record, but remember, his personal best is 15:25. This end fight is still a pretty big deal, and as if to make up for the run-killing stronghold generation, the game gives him something even Ontricus didn't get in his world record: an instant perch. Connor doesn't miss his opportunity.
Oh my god! I'm gonna fucking cry, I don't even know. Bro. Oh my god.
14 minutes, 5 seconds. The fastest run by any player not named Ontricus in 1.15. And the craziest part? It could have been a whole lot faster. Sooner than later, we're gonna see exactly what that looks like. Huge shout out to Connor and Ontricus for these amazing boundary pushing runs, and also for helping out with the creation of this video. And a huge thanks to you for making it to the end. Comment down below what you want to see us cover in the next video, whether that be more Minecraft speedruns or a totally different game. If you liked the video, be sure to smash like and subscribe if you haven't yet. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.